Hello, Dr. Osafo. How you doing, man?
Hi, Lexis Bill.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
I'm glad to know that.
Oh,
Ading.
No, I just entered the studio. I saw you, and then I felt a little better.
Oh, so what's making my doctor sad?
So it's a man you for. So when I see the Chelsea people like you, then at least I guess so.
Oh my goodness, right?
I guess so, because since Monday I've been down.
But now you see me and you are feeling better.
I just saw you
because we are in the same soup.
Soup no, I been quiet. I like soup. I been quiet. Who I hit it.
The way I was expecting you to, Dr. Safo, that's not it.
You know, the way the season started with him, we can't sell players.
No.
So good afternoon to all the Man U suffering Man U fans.
Goods sold are not returnable.
It's
in the many
Anyway, it's good to be here. It's Wednesday and always exciting to be here.
But I must say though, I think you're looking good.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
It's not just the outfit. The outfit is great, but I don't know. You look very well.
Kwame said today's topic was about nurses,
Yes. Healthcare workers and nurses.
And nurses in particular. I saw a message on the screen. Someone says he wants to get married to a nurse.
Yes.
So some nurse something be that
let me look for it.
A nurse be number.
But
in 2006 I got injured. And I was nursed. I was married.
No worry.
So the guy who wants to marry a nurse.
Yeah, Frank in Achimota, he says, I'm seriously looking for a nurse to marry. I'm the administrator of a company.
Oh,
I say, nurses are so caring.
Frank, boo name.
That's all.
Oh, but I saw Frank's message. I was like, oh, yes. He's on point. Nurses are so caring. Oh, yes, on point.
It's not just their job, it's their second nature,
Yeah, I think it comes with the territory. Those who really are into it, it comes with into to me out the part.
Anyway.
Maybe my little team, no, maybe what up that. Yeah, but it's a good thing for us to celebrate the healthcare workers.
Yes.
It's a difficult job that we have to do. Most people feel that we are robots, but we've got feelings. It's difficult. You lose a patient in the morning at, say, 8 o'clock. You're supposed to be all smiles when you're seeing the next patient at, say, 8:30.
Wow.
They wouldn't understand why maybe, then the doctor said,
yeah.
But probably you may have lost your patient, another patient, a few hours or minutes earlier. And being the human beings that we are, it's a very difficult job managing all of those emotions. And then physically, it is a very, very difficult job. Long hours.
Yeah.
Burnout, and then these days with all the scientific discovery and knowledge, keeping up the knowledge base and the skill is tough. You need to read, keep up with the knowledge. So it's a difficult job. So I was very happy today that the focus was on us healthcare professionals and the good sides. We've got the difficult sides of our job, and sometimes we drop the ball. But I think by and large we do a fantastic job.
I think you guys do, and especially the team at Medicas. I need to say kudos to you guys. I like your precision and attention to detail and how you care about patients.
Right.
So
That's our philosophy, and we try and do the best for the patients. We really put the patient first, and I know it's a process.
Yeah.
It's not a destination. We never get there, but that's always been our philosophy of care. So thank you for the opportunity to celebrate all healthcare workers.
Kudos to you.
So, Kwame, yes, last week we started a conversation about rights because unfortunately somebody was not quite happy with that I call it a special relationship that doctors or healthcare professionals have with their patient and their relatives. This job gives us an opportunity to really go into the lives of people and families. And for me, I've become a co-opted family member in a lot of families in this country, because there are people who are outside, say, oh, doctor, why? You know, they are out there, they would send man, make sure that everything is done right. But every now and then I think we need to discuss the rules of engagement, and that's why we decided to talk about the Patient's Charter, which is a document that spells out the rights and responsibilities of patients, all in a bid to improve that special relationship that healthcare professionals have with patients. So just by way of recap, Kwame, a right is a privilege or power that the general public has by virtue of a law. And we as healthcare professionals in the health sector, we should help patients to exercise those rights. So it's a privilege, it's a power that they have, it's non-negotiable, and therefore we should be aware of it. The patients and their relatives should also be aware of it, because rights have limits. So you should know what those limits are. And sometimes people are surprised when I tell them what the limits of the rights are. So last week, for example, we started off by saying that the patient is entitled to full information on his or her condition. And I think that goes to the heart of the complaint we received, in which the patient's uncle felt that he has a right to the information. You know, so it is a patient that we as doctors, we have a responsibility. So long as the patient is conscious, so long as the patient can appreciate the information to be given, so long as the patient is not a minor or a child under the laws of Ghana, then the patient is the one who is entitled to that information. So Kwame, let's continue to look at the other rights, because I think we did 5 or 6
We did
out,
about
5 or so. So the next one I want to talk about is the right to confidentiality. So the patient is entitled to confidentiality of information obtained about him or her, and such information shall not be disclosed to a third party without his or her consent, or the person entitled to act on his or her behalf, except where such information is required by law or is in the public interest. So when we talk about confidentiality, it means when you tell me something, I should not disclose it to a third party unless you give me the go-ahead to do so. So in this particular case, the 28-year-old nephew is our patient, or was a doctor's patient, and therefore he's entitled to confidentiality of all the information that we glean from him. We are not at liberty to disclose that information to his uncle, except he gives us that express permission to do so.
Right.
So this right to confidentiality extends to everybody. So we would pass on the information, everything that we know, we will disclose every information regarding the person's illness to him or her. Then it is the responsibility of that individual or the patient, if he or she chooses, so decides, to disclose the information. So this nephew could have disclosed the information to the uncle. The doctor is not burdened to, or should not be burdened to be the one disclosing that information. Otherwise, the patient can sue us. We would be in breach of the rules of the game. Would have infringed his right to confidentiality. The only time we can breach this particular right is if that information is in the public interest. So while in Ghana there are some notifiable diseases. COVID-19, for example, is one of those things now. But things like measles, polio, have all are all on our list, so that if you are in a facility and you have a patient who has that, then you have to notify the public health authorities in that particular municipality or district. So that's what we mean by notifiable diseases. All right, in sending that information, initially we will not disclose the identity. We'll just say, yes, we have patient X who reported to our facility, blah, 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 so that the public health information, a public health team can then come in. But when they come in, they would like to see the patient. Maybe additional tests would have to be done. Patient maybe have to be kept in isolation and so on and so forth. But we're keeping all of that information within the health circles. Otherwise, then the patient must give us their express permission. Or for example, if a patient comes to me, Kwame, and it's a bullet wound, by law, I'm supposed to report.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Got bullet there, Kwame. We are armed robber. You know, it was accidental. That you have a bullet wound, the police will be very, very much interested in the circumstances of you receiving that particular wound.
Okay.
So there are certain situations where I don't need your permission. I can actually breach that confidentiality to do so. So this particular point is very, very, very important. A lot of parents struggle with this particular point because they see their 20-year-old still as meba, as children. But under the law, they are adults. So when they come before us as healthcare professionals, we can only treat them as adults. So for example, the right to privacy, which we talked about last week. I mean, if a parent walks in with their 20-year-old or 19-year-old, and I tell them that, Madam, how would a lot of parents feel about it? Because your son has a right to privacy. You may be telling me things that in your presence will make him or her uncomfortable. I'm sure automatically or instantaneously, a lot of parents will feel maybe even offended by saying, hey, doctor, that's my daughter. I have a right to be in this room. But your daughter is 18 years or 19 years. So your daughter is an adult female. So except with their express permission, we can't. But of course, also maturity dictates that we as healthcare professionals or doctors in particular, you manage your consulting room in a certain way. So we're not going to throw the rule book. But I just want, at the parents, but I just want parents to also know, sometimes the body language from your child is telling us something that bibi or her person or catch your doctor.
But ne papa.
When I ask the social history bit whether or not you have used marijuana before, Kwame, your father is sitting there, sitting behind you. You feel the knock coming. It doesn't arrive, but you feel the knock coming. So sometimes we feel we may not get full information in the presence of certain people, and therefore we may ask them to step out a little for a minute. We take the information, we get a writing so that we're able to make the right diagnosis, and then we move on from there. The patient is entitled, another right, to all relevant information regarding policies and regulation of the health facility that he or she attends. I mean, every household, every institution, we have rules and regulations that guides our operations. Of course, those rules should not fly in the face of the patient's charter, but all patients have the right to know what the processes and procedures are. Number 8, procedures for complaints, disputes, and conflict resolution shall be explained to patients or their accredited representatives. Procedures for complaints, disputes, and conflict. So, Kwame, I'm sure you've noticed this. Anytime you walk onto the compound Medical's hospital, we've got 9 different notices posted in different vantage places. Compliments, complaints, and suggestions. Please contact the quality manager, and then we put the WhatsApp number and then the phone number clearly displayed. And this is deliberate. This is us trying to get patients to be able to exercise their rights. It helps us also to keep a lid on things. So do we drop the ball? Oh, yes. Do patients call me directly or call the quality manager, Nana? Oh, yes, all the time, because we've made ourselves accessible. And for me, in my institution, that helps me a lot to keep a lid on things. Sometimes they just need to be heard, that they have an issue, and then we're able to promptly address it. The patient is entitled to personal safety and reasonable security of property within the confines of the institution.
Okay.
So that's also absolutely very, very important, because we have inpatient facilities, and then also people congregate there. Unfortunately, sometimes these things may happen. You should make sure that you provide reasonable security on your hospital, compound. So security is not something that we take for granted. Kwame, listen to this. Hospital charges, modes of payments, and all forms of anticipated expenditure shall be explained to the patient prior to treatment. Hospital charges, modes of payment, and all forms of anticipated expenditure shall be explained to the patient prior to treatment. You don't blindside the patient, no. So right at the beginning, consultation, this is how much we charge. If you want maybe fast track, or you want to book come in by appointment, this is the fee structure. If you're on inpatient care, this is the fee structure. If you're coming with private health insurance, oh yes, we accept private health insurance, we accept national health insurance, we accept that. You've got to make all these things known to patients before, not that they are in the thing. Then now we are keeping them hostage. After we've rendered the service, we are detaining people. And it happens even in some of the public hospitals. No names mentioned, but we fear that people are being detained, and then they are lying on bed, then you transfer them from the bed onto the floor, and it's all not pretty. So Kwame, what we are all going to buy, Wachi, I think we all ask. Because you had the essay. You don't say Gusuma me, and then when they finish,
They give you the bill and you be like, but you will lean it back.
So you don't enjoy the meal and then find out the bill later. I think it's very, very simple. And then lastly, this point is very, very important to me, and I think it's a point that I always try and discuss with my colleagues, healthcare professionals. The patient has the right to a second medical opinion if he or she so desires.
Okay.
The patient has the right to a second medical opinion if he or she so desires.
Okay.
What is a second opinion? What do we mean? Kwame?
Before you explain that,
Right.
If you have any contribution or question, you can call us on 0302 216 541 or send us a WhatsApp on 055 1111997. Doc.
Right. So, what is a second medical opinion? Kwame, you may come to me with complaints that, doctor, I woke up this morning and I found blood coming out of my nostrils. It spooked me, and that's why I'm here. Then I would examine you, maybe run a few tests, and then, Kwame, I hit you with it that you have some form of blood disorder, or let's say blood cancer. And you may go home and feel very unconvinced by the diagnosis. Not wanting to accept that is what it is. And it is very, very human for people to go through that process of accepting a very difficult diagnosis. So people may want to then go in for what we call a second medical opinion. Let me go somewhere else and let's see whether the doctor who is trained pretty much the same way as you are trained will give me the same diagnosis.
Okay.
But in going somewhere, sometimes we need to assist that going somewhere. I may mention the name of the disease and say, okay, maybe you have multiple myeloma. Well, you probably have not heard it before. You get home, you forget the name of the disease and all of those things. You should be able to come to me and say, Dr. Safo, this diagnosis doesn't sit well with me. I need to, can you check it again for me? I should be able to facilitate that and say, okay, you know what? Why don't you go and see a hematologist, a blood specialist, and then I issue you with a referral. And on that referral, all I'm indicating is that patients wants a second opinion on my diagnosis. Well, I mean, if I feel confident enough about my diagnosis, I shouldn't have any problems and any challenges at all having another colleague or a specialist in that area agree with me on that diagnosis. If you go and it is what it is, the patient most likely will come back to you and say, and probably they would have enough time would have passed for them to come to accept the diagnosis. Unfortunately, sometimes we look at this as the patients challenging our medical knowledge. And we don't take kindly to that. But it isn't something that we as healthcare professionals should feel offended by if a patient wants a second medical opinion. We should actually facilitate it.
It's a challenge, a bit me a challenge. And you first.
School, first, second, third.
Oh, that be some can't say a be class there, a be D first, a be ballast, and so now be a doctor. Imagine say, classmates be more GSS. Overcall hospital network.
Also, a brain down it.
It's okay for second opinion. To challenge.
Absolutely. So I don't see it as a challenge. It's just a whole process of patients. I mean, it's difficult. When I tell you have some very big illness, it's like a cancer, or they tell you that infertility, you may never have a child and all of that. It's not an easy thing, and I think it's only human for people to want a different answer.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful. You go to somebody who is in a position to make that same diagnosis. If you go to a junior person, that person may not be in a position to make that diagnosis. That's why we have to facilitate it.
Okay.
So I make a diagnosis, I think this cancer. I'll send you to a specialist in that field for him to actually say yes or no.
Okay.
Right. So
I get that. Anthony sent a message and says, please, does Medicas accept GAB insurance?
I would say that we accept most private health insurance. I don't know off the top of my head. I can find out after the show, but we're registered with almost all private health insurance companies in this country.
Okay. It's quite a lengthy message here from one of our friends. Let me see what I can go through. Hello, Lexis. Asked Safo to help me out in a rather unprofessional conduct of a pathology service provider right here in Accra. So, a hospital took a sample, a specimen from my spouse, and directed me to give it to this very pathology institution whose name I want to keep for now. They received it and asked me to pay a fee. I did it. Results was ready after 3 days. I drove to collect it, headed for the doctor who was to treat my wife of the cancerous ailment. The doctor received a report and told us he couldn't work with it because it's inconclusive. Now, here's my beef. He called the pathologist to ask him why he keeps presenting half-full reports that cannot be used to work on the patient. Shockingly, he told the doctor these words: most of my patients who come to my facility are poor and are unable to pay for the full report, so I just resort to the basics and give it to them. My question is, why would you box clients into one category, thereby denying others who have the money to pay so they can have expedite treatment for their loved ones? This is what a pathologist did to us at a time when my wife was dying slowly of a cancerous problem, and the doctor could not treat her without the full reports. Can I take him on?
Wow. Communication. So sometimes doctors will need reports coming from other doctors. I would say that there has to be proper communication between the clinician and the pathologist. They are colleagues. They need to be able to sort out what is going back and forth between the two of them and really leave the patients out of this. I don't think both parties, the clinician, communicating the way he is about his colleagues, but if he's not happy with that particular pathology service, he should just take a different pathology service and not discuss it.
But I thought some of the the request for maybe a certain scan or report, there are specific details or things that they want.
Exactly. So has that been done properly? So we don't know all the details of this. So has that been done properly? And is that the reports that they got back? But I'm just saying that these are two doctors in two different fields. One is a pathologist, the other one is a clinician. And I think that between the two of them, they ought to be able to sort this one out. If I'm the clinician and I'm not happy with a certain pathology service or laboratory service, I would, after speaking with them, I would not send my patients there anymore.
What's your number, Doc?
Well, people can reach us on 0501 477 340. Our WhatsApp number is 0501 477 340. Somebody will be on hand to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Osafo, CEO of Medicars Hospital. It's 5 o'clock. Let's find out what's happening in